listening to that song and realizing that I was sitting next to my sister, who um, she is the one I call. And so many people in this room are the ones that I call when I forget who I am, when the world gets scary, and I was just sitting caught up so much in the moment of that recognition of that level of love. That's the kind of love that changes everything. Um, I've been thinking a lot about love, not just because I was speaking today, although that definitely helps put it at the forefront, um, but because it's often really hard for me to see evidence of love out in the world sometimes lately. I have to go searching for it. I won't say that there isn't evidence. And actually, there is evidence. As I started with that hypothesis, right, that I'm seeing a lot of things that are not love out in the world, I had to push my thinking on that. Is that true? Yes, I am seeing a lot of discord. But I also, every day, see people holding doors open for one another. Every day, there is evidence of people. I read just a few weeks ago about this entire underground railroad type situation that was happening in Minnesota, where they were creating mill trains and businesses were giving out food and supplies to the community and staying open 24 hours, right? Evidence of love out in the world. It's just that sometimes those aren't the things that get the headlines and the things that grab my attention. And if I'm being honest, love only sometimes feels aspirational for me. When I became a minister, I think I've shared this before, when I was ordained, there were a list of questions that I was asked, basically an oath. Do I commit to live and embody the principles of this teaching to the best of my ability every day? And of course, ultimately, the answer was yes, because I'm here. But I really had to think about it. And so when I think about love only, and when it doesn't seem to be appearing out in the world, or when I'm struggling with loving everybody and everything, no matter what, no special occasions. Anybody have some special occasions? Right? I look to my children, because it is the one form of love that I understand on such a visceral level, that I understand is completely, completely unconditional. And my kids loved to play this game when they were little. We haven't played it in a while, where I would tell them, there's nothing you could do that could make me not love you. And they'd say, well, what if I punched you in the face? And I'd say, well, I'd be a little stunned that you would do something like that, and probably my face would hurt, and then I would still love you anyway. And they'd say, well, what if I stole from you? And I'd say, well, I would feel really sad that you felt like you needed something that you weren't getting that made you think that you needed to steal from me. And then I would love you anyway. And they'd say, well, what if I killed somebody? And I'd say, then I would visit you in jail and I would miss you very much and I would love you anyway, right? And I meant it and I mean it. There is nothing those two humans could do that could break that bond or change it. That's love only, right? That's what we're talking about. And so when we say it's aspirational, it's not, because I have it with them. But then, how do I translate that to everybody and everything else, right? How do I get to a place where, where Catherine can say, if I punched you in the face, would you love me anyway? I would, actually. Look at me evolving right before our eyes. I would love you anyway, and I would visit you in jail, and I would love you anyway. When my kids were little, when I had my son, I didn't know what to do with him. I didn't know, I knew that I loved him, but I didn't have, I was born to teen parents that were very much winging it. And I didn't necessarily know how to, that there was methodologies, there are philosophies, there's no limit to the number of books out there on how to raise your children. And I was very fortunate to have stumbled across two ideologies about child rearing. The first was attachment parenting, which I did a modified version because they do things like don't have your kids wear diapers. And I was like, that's messy and gross, not going to do that. But the idea was that if you make your kids feel so safe and so loved and take care of their needs as they need them, that they will grow up to be so secure and safe that they will feel free to fly the nest. And a lot of people, this really resonated with me, right? And so I let my children sleep with me for as long as they wanted to. Good news, neither of them still sleep with me, so it did work. I wasn't totally crazy, but there were a lot of people that were like, how do you get sleep? And I was like, I sleep better knowing that they're sleeping well and they're next to me. And not in any judgment of what anybody else did, but it was what felt right for me, right? And I think I told the story before of when my son was about 11 years old and he decided that he wanted to go to Park City, Utah with a friend. And I was a little nervous. I wasn't sure he was ready, but I let him go. And when he called me in the middle of the trip and said, I'm in Park City, Utah, and I'm homesick, and you need to, I want to come home, I drove to Park City, Utah, and I picked that boy up and I brought him home. And I tell this story because today, that sweet boy who is 17, who does not sleep in my bed anymore, and hasn't for quite some time, flew on an airplane on Friday without me to Sacramento to go do youth and government, and I have to remind him that he has a mother and he needs to send me proof of life. And that is loving only. Right? And the other parenting philosophy that came my way is something called love and logic. And the idea is that you stop fighting your kids, stop being the bad guy. Because if my kid doesn't do his homework and I yell at him to do his homework, then he can be mad at me and he doesn't have to address the fact that he's not doing his homework. I get to put a bridge between the actual effect of his cause and be the bad guy. So in love and logic, it's all about natural consequences, which looks something like when my son was in 4th grade and he didn't want to do his homework, or sometimes my daughter, although she is a little more self-motivated. But when he wouldn't do his homework, I would just say, I will love you no matter how many times you repeat the 4th grade. The choice is completely up to you. And invariably, he would do his homework. When he was about 4, the jacket fight. It's cold outside, put a jacket on. He didn't want to put a jacket on. It's cold outside, you're going to freeze, put your jacket on. He didn't want to put his jacket on. So we got in the car. He did not have a jacket on because I was doing love and logic, and I am not going to be the perpetrator in your world. And the gods loved me that day. The universe was like, had my back, because as soon as we got out of the car, it started to pour. And I mean torrential downpour. And I had a coat and an umbrella, and so I'm walking. He's like, Mom, we gotta run. It's raining. And I was like, oh no, I'm dressed appropriately. I'm good. I'm fine. And he was like, but it's raining and it's cold. And I said, I know, I'm just so glad I remembered my jacket. And before that sweet boy left for Sacramento, and when we were buying him the things that he needed, wouldn't you know it, the kid asked for a jacket to take up north. So what does all of this have to do with love only and science of mind, other than, obviously, I'm an amazing mom who loves my kids? We're taught in science of mind that what we focus on expands, right? And so when I see those things in the world that I don't want to see, Ernest Holmes in this teaching says I'm supposed to not give it any attention, right? Like Love and Logic, where it's like, oh, I'm wearing a coat, I'm good. But we're supposed to deny that evil exists, right? It is an illusion, it is not a thing, right? And yet there's this part of me that feels like the ability to look away and turn a blind eye or pretend like it's not happening or to not give it any energy looks a lot like privilege. It's really easy for me as a white adjacent woman living in the suburbs in a gated community of reasonable means to look away. I don't have to look at it. I'm not personally experiencing so much of it, right? And so I can do that. But there's something in me that says that's not what we're being asked to do. That can't be what Ernest Holmes was talking about when he said that it's an illusion and we need to not give it any energy. There must be something more. And so I went looking. I actually started searching, what was Ernest Holmes talking about in the 1940s? Like, what was he saying and how was he speaking about the things that he was seeing in the world? And I found this quote. He said, to resist evil is to see it as a reality. To turn from it is to see it as a shadow. We do not fight the dark to find the light. We turn on the light and the dark is not. So he's not saying that we turn away from it and pretend like it's not happening. He's not saying that we just ostrich or go about our very privileged lives and pretend like none of this happening. He never meant for us to use this teaching as a way of weaponizing against those that do not have what we have. Yes, he said we are all at choice. Yes, he said that we are equal to the experiences that we're having. But he never meant for that to lack love or to lack compassion or to lack me holding out my hand and lifting up another person when they're struggling. So then what is there for us to do? And so in this quest of love, I had this epiphany. He said to turn from it is to see it as a shadow, right? Eric loves the law of polarity, right? But it's just the shadow. So turning away from it looks a lot like letting it be a call to action to spread more love. And where I always get confused, or what stops me from living this vision statement, is that when I hear it's a call to action to spread more love, I think what you're saying to me is that I have to love the people that are doing the atrocities, which you do. But I'm going to leave that for the adults to clean up next week, because that's not what I'm talking about today. But we do, and it is. But the step that I can get behind is that for each action that is unkind, unloving, it's an opportunity for me to go spread love and to help the person in need. Pour my love energy there. And that love energy gives love and expands it and ripples it. And if we do that as a community and we come together, everything that is its opposite just dissipates and goes away. But what we've been doing is feeding it. We're literally feeding the energy that we don't want to see. And this is not, it doesn't matter which side of the argument you're on, by the way. But when we see an atrocity and we go, that's an atrocity, that is terrible, those people are bad, can you believe this? And then we talk about it, right? I go to my friends, I'm like, can you believe what they just did? And then I watch the news and I consume more of it. And what I focus on expands. I am literally telling the universe, one more order of discord, please. I'd like a mixed bag of love and hate, and I'd like to give me more things to be angry about. Right? I watch the news, I open social media, I get mad, and then I tell the universe, give me more things to be mad about. And it happily obliges. But what would happen? I look at September 11th. It was an atrocity. It was awful. Right? I think we can all, there's nothing divisive or crazy about the idea that that was a bad thing. I think we're all on the same page. And each of us had an option, right? Every person, because Ernest Holmes also says, we are always at choice. I could turn on the TV and yell at the TV and get mad. I could decide to hate an entire race of people as a result. I could use it as an opportunity to fuel my own hate. Or, not even to that extreme, I could just be mad that the government's not doing enough or they're not doing it right. How did this happen? I could buy into conspiracy. I have options, right? But there were people who saw that, and their first instinct was to rush to New York and help. The blood banks were full. They were turning people away for the first time that I had ever seen in my lifetime. For the first time that I had seen in my lifetime, there was a unity to the United States. It didn't matter whether it was a red state or a blue state. There was just love. There was just connection. We were all in this together. That is the energy that has the ability to heal. That is the energy that can cast out darkness and make it the shadow illusion that it is. When we turn people into groups and label them, we dehumanize them. And it doesn't matter what the group is, right? Red state, blue state, liberal, MAGA, Jew, Muslim, criminals, ICE, the unhoused, poor people, billionaires, immigrants, black people, white people, Texans, right? That one was just for you, Liza. This is the first step in a slippery slope of hate. I don't believe that I am a person that hates. I believe that most of us, I believe everyone is inherently good. Subject to our belief systems, we can make choices that do not align with that. And while I like to believe that I am a person that errs on the side of love, putting people in boxes and labeling them enables me to distance myself from them, not see them as the God that they are, the humans that they are. And it is the first step of the slippery slope to creating hate. So what do we do then? Well, we can stop creating division, because when we stop creating division, we'll stop experiencing opposition. You cannot feel and experience oneness and think of anybody or anything outside of yourself. So what can we do? Because I always look to the practical, right? It's like, I gotta get this off the wall because I'm tired of experiencing its opposite. I am tired of entertaining its opposite. So what we do is we pour love where it's needed. We stop focusing on how much other people's actions suck and start using their actions as a call to action. It's a call to love. So here are just some examples of people who lived this so that we can know that this is not aspirational wall talk. There are everyday humans doing just this. Joanne Goldblum saw that diapers aren't covered by federal assistance programs and that 1 in 3 families in the US were not able to afford diapers. In 2011, she started the National Diaper Bank Network. Today, it provides 140 million diapers annually to more than 280,000 children each month. Chef Jose Andres saw that food insecurity during the immediate aftermath of natural disasters and humanitarian crisis before government aid and traditional supply chains could come in. So immediately after, these people were scared, they were traumatized, and they didn't have the resources, and they didn't have food. He started the World Central Kitchen in 2010. He mobilized a network of professional chefs to build local kitchen infrastructures and supply chains to provide fresh cooked meals at scale. To date, the organization has served over 350 million meals in response to crises globally, including the war in Ukraine. Nick Marchese and Lucas Patchett saw that there was a lack of access to laundry and hygiene facilities for the unhoused, and that it was leading to skin infections and social isolation in the unhoused population. He started the Orange Sky Laundry in 2014. He created custom-fitted vans with commercial washers and dryers that travel to parks and community centers to provide free laundry services and social connection. Today, they have facilitated over 4 million pounds of free laundry and 300,000 hours of non-judgmental conversation with people experiencing homelessness. I hope I don't butcher this gentleman's name because he's amazing. Reyes Bouyan. I did butcher his name, but I think he'd forgive me, especially after you hear his story. Following the Islamophobia after 9/11, hate crimes against Muslims shot up in the United States. Reyes Bouyan was working at a convenience store and was shot by Mark Stroman, who was a white supremacist and perpetuating a hate crime because Reyes was a Muslim. Reyes did not seek revenge. Instead, he spent years fighting to save his attacker, Mark Stroman, from the death penalty, citing his faith and the power of mercy. While he was not successful in preventing Mark Stroman from the death penalty, Stroman's final words were, "I have the Islamic community and a man named Reyes Bouyan to thank for showing me what true love and mercy are. Hate has to stop. We are all humans." Reyes went on to form World Without Hate, which has reached tens of thousands of students, law enforcement officers, and inmates with programs designed to break cycles of violence and prejudice. Dr. Dixon Chibanda. There was a severe shortage of mental health professionals in Zimbabwe. There were only 13 psychiatrists for 13 million people. Recognizing that the medical community would never be able to meet the need, he trained grandmothers in cognitive behavior therapy to provide free counseling on wooden benches outside of health clinics called the Friendship Bench. Over 30,000 people have received support, and clinical trials have shown that the program is more effective than standard medical care for treating symptoms of depression. I pray that we get to a place where we no longer need adversity to bring out the best in us. But until we get there, I choose to allow it to bring out the best in me. Each adversity, we have a decision to make. Who will I be, and what energy will I pour in to this situation? Anthropologist Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It's the only thing that ever has." Namaste. Swan, my slide. Thank you. Thank you. All right.